So if you don't already have a guitar, you might be wondering what is the right type of guitar to have for this course. When we're listening to rock, pop, folk, anything that's unplugged, the type of guitar we're most likely to hear is this type, which is a steel string acoustic guitar. And like I said, so for that type of music, this is probably the most common type of guitar that you'll have. And it would be the sound that you'll be familiar with, so nice bright kind of sound. Okay. This type of guitar has steel strings, and they can be a little bit tough to press down with your fingers when you're starting off. So your fingers will be sore when you start off, especially with these steel strings. Now, if you have an old guitar lying around with steel strings, I would say it's probably a good idea to get new strings put on it, because old strings, kind of rusty strings, dirty strings, they will hurt your fingers even more. So definitely, if you have an old guitar lying around that hasn't been played for years, I would really recommend that you get a new set of strings put on the guitar. And your local music shop should be able to do this for you. They might charge a small fee, but they should be able to do it for you. If you feel that putting strings on straight away is something that you're not able to do. Now, if you're getting new strings, ask them in the music shop for the lightest possible strings. Again, just to make it easier for you to press down. If they put on a medium set of strings, in most other contexts, medium we would think to be somewhere in the middle, but medium strings on an acoustic guitar can be very tough to press down, especially when you're starting out. So the lightest possible set of strings. You want to make things easier for yourself at the beginning. You want to get a good start on playing the guitar before looking at trying different strings. So people might argue and say that medium strings will sound better than light strings. That's quite possible, but we want to get you playing first of all. We don't want you to give up because your fingers are too sore after 1 or 2 weeks. So it's a steel string guitar. Again, they come in different shapes and sizes. You might want to get a smaller one depending on your body size. Sometimes you'll find some of these guitars have a very large part of the body here, and it does give them a certain sound, but they can be a little bit awkward maybe to get your arm over here as well. So that's your acoustic guitar. Now, the other type is a nylon string guitar, which I'll show you now. Okay, so we have nylon string guitar. So you can hear the sound, same chords are played on the steel string guitar, but a lot more mellow sound, not quite as bright or sharp as the steel string. Now, I'm playing that with a plectrum, which would be a little bit unusual in the sense that this type of guitar is normally associated with classical guitar music, Spanish guitar music, and for that type of music it's normally using your fingers. But we're going to be using a plectrum during this course, so it's perfectly fine. You can use a plectrum with one of these nylon string guitars. It'll still work, won't do it any harm. Now, the nylon string guitars, the nylon strings are much softer to press down with your fingers. The neck here is a little bit wider and usually a little bit deeper in this way as well. If you have small hands, you might find that might be an issue, because you will have to stretch a little bit more, especially for some of the chords that we're going to be looking at. But if that's not an issue, or in fact if you do have larger hands and you think the steel string guitar might be too small, well, then this might suit you. Also, like I said, pressing down on these strings is a lot easier at the beginning, so you might like to maybe try one of these in your local music shop and see if you prefer the feel of the nylon strings. Body shape, maybe a little bit smaller than the steel string guitar, so you might find that more comfortable too. So if you're not too worried about the sound, if you just want to get playing something nice and quickly, not hurting your fingers too much, well then nylon strings might be the way to go. I've also found that the nylon string guitars, the cheaper ones, tend to be better made than the steel string guitars at the same price. So I'm not here to endorse any particular makes or anything like that. But usually, for example, if you're going to spend €100 on a guitar, which in the overall context is not a lot of money for a guitar, a nylon string guitar for €100, in my experience, are usually much better made than a steel string guitar for the equivalent money. You know, it's a good idea to try and spend a reasonable amount on the guitar. You want to try and buy the best instrument that you can afford. If you buy a really cheap one that's poorly made, your fingers probably get really sore, probably very difficult to press down the strings, it more than likely won't stay in tune, and will probably sound terrible. So that's not going to encourage you to play. So try and buy the best one you can afford. If that happens to be the cheapest one that's in the shop, well, so be it. That's what you'll have to work with. But if you can, go in, try and buy a decent one. And like I said, if you're buying a steel string guitar, just be prepared that you will probably have to spend a little bit more than the very, very basic one, just to get something that's going to be playable. So, once you have your guitar and you're tuned up and you're ready to go, we'll start into the next lesson.